Why, hello there, and welcome to a very wet, well, not so much, it kind of stopped. Hopefully that rain holds out for us the rest of the day. A very wet filming location day. We're gonna do some filming locations. The Punisher 2004, starring Thomas Jane as Frank Castle, John Travolta in there as well. He is Howard Saints. I forgot his name for a second there. That's what happens when I turn the camera on. My brain just, I don't remember anything. But yes, we're gonna do some filming locations for The Punisher. Now, this movie filmed all around the Tampa Bay area. It's a fun, super, well, anti-hero movie. He's not really a superhero. He's a vigilante going out to enact punishment on those who deserve it. But yeah, so it's gonna be a fun time. We're gonna do a bunch of spots from the movie. Yeah, well, let's go. Our first location brings us to Puerto Rico. Now, we're not actually in Puerto Rico. We are on Honeymoon Island here, not too far from Clearwater. Look at this, we got a red flag, high hazard. High surf and or strong currents. Red flags. But our first location brings us to Honeymoon Island. This is actually where they filmed portions of the Puerto Rico scenes in the beginning of the movie. Frank and his family, well, towards the beginning of the movie, Frank and his family have a family reunion in Puerto Rico. They did not film in Puerto Rico. They filmed still in the Tampa Bay area. And this building right over here, Bathhouse 3, actually played that are good English, played a very vital role in the film. But I am getting ahead of myself. Now, if you have never watched The Punisher, as I said, it's an anti-hero movie. So Frank Castle is an deep undercover FBI agent. And in the very beginning of the movie, a little issue goes down, and one of Howard Saints, who ends up being the villain of the film, one of his sons gets killed. Now, Howard will hold Frank responsible ultimately, even though he actually shows empathy when he's killed. He asks, what happened, what went wrong, trying to show that Frank's not a bad guy. And Howard doesn't want to hear that. Howard holds him responsible, and ultimately Olivia Saint, she wants his whole family essentially murdered, which, spoiler alerts, they do. They go to this family reunion and they accomplish that. They believe they got everyone, including Frank. Frank did live. We're gonna go down there in a little bit here, but this right here, Bathhouse 3, is where that family reunion took place. Now, this is not the original location of this bathhouse. There we see the 3's donned, marking which restroom facility this is. Now, the angle is going to be a little difficult to match up because it is no longer ground level. It is raised that way. If the Gulf, that is the Gulf of Mexico waters over there, the Gulf decides to come in, it's off the ground a little bit. There's a few scenes where Frank walking along the shore with the angle about that of the building in the background there. You can tell those covered up windows, even that light on the top right well, what you can see at the top right of the building is really not the top right because there's a tree in the way, but even that light adds up. Everything matches. That is the light I was referencing right there. Obviously a different light than what was in the movie, but the wiring in the same spot. Now, I've been sitting here for a minute and I can't really determine which side is which. It's pretty identical on both sides. This is definitely it though. You can look on historic satellite imaging and you can see when it was actually moved. So sometime between 2005 and 2007. You won't find anything special in here. It's just restroom facilities. Of course, if you need to use them, you might find it special. But it is pretty identical, both sides of this bathhouse. Bathhouse number 3. Definitely it. And it was moved from right over here, much closer to the water. Let's take a little gander peek-see. So there you see the bathhouse in the background. Believe it or not, it was originally located right about here. So those scenes with Frank walking next to the water, right around this way. Look at the seashells. I'm crunching on the seashells. Frank Castle sells seashells on the seashore. Don't want to get too close here. I might end up getting a little wet. It's a little rough. Look at those waves. But it would have been sitting approximately there. So it didn't move too far from there to there. Raised up a little bit, out of harm's way. We got someone out there on a surfboard. The bad guys would have been walking out this way. And up over here as they were sneaking up on the family. They have quite a few articles on the Tampa Bay Times about the bathhouse when it was being moved, when it was being filmed here, and they did make some additions onto the bathhouse for filming, strictly for filming. And yeah, right out here, Honeymoon State Park. Hey buddy, what you doing there? Yeah, just hanging out, looking out for a Frank Castle. Now Maria and Will hop in their vehicle and they go on a run for their life, quite literally trying to escape their ultimate fate. And they go on one heck of a chase because we got to go about an hour, a little bit more than an hour south of here. This is a beautiful island. Look at this. It's amazing. Caution. Wildlife crossings. That'd be cool to see a turtle. Turtle. And we are now here at the Gulf Pier Historic Fort. This, the southernmost parking area of Fort DeSoto, a previous military fort. Was occupied from 1898 to 1910. Surveyed way before that though, used in the Spanish-American War. Our interest is this spot right here. So Will and Maria would have come to a shuddering halt right here. This is where their vehicle would have flipped. It would have been resting on its side when they climbed out. As they run this way, you can see some of those objects. That wall could be seen in the background. the pier here. They would run up the steps. I'm trying to get in the door here. The goons in the truck would hop out. They would eventually run down the pier here. They would take the truck right out there on the pier and unfortunately run them down. After further review, it actually appears that the truck would have been flipped right about here. I don't believe this parking lot was fully developed at the time. It was probably a lot, but not this pay by text lot that you now see. Coming out to this first little open section of the pier, these structures don't appear to be in the movie. I don't believe they were there. We're actually going to keep going a little bit further to these second structures, these little awnings, which were enclosed in the film. So it's the second set. Frank is running down, and right about here is when he sees the blood trail. Stops in disbelief. As he goes a little bit closer, and the bodies would have been right about here. Will and Maria. The bad guys, of course, would have driven all the way down to the end of the pier, pulled a U-turn, made their way towards Frank. Frank starts shooting at them. And it caused them to crash into one of these buildings. Whoa, buddy. Hey, yeah, you scared me. I'm not scaring you. You scared me, bro. I don't know if you saw that camera shake or not, but he legitimately scared me a little bit. We're friends now, though. Look at him. Fist bump. Fist bump. Yeah? No? You gonna diss me on camera like that, man? Failure. As they approach Frank, you can see this section right here. The bars were removed. You can see that quickly, because that's actually where the stairs went down to the barge that was created just for the movie. It's not a real floating barge where eventually they light it on fire and blow Castle up, leaving him what they thought was for dead, but then he would end up right over there. See those rocks right there? He'd float up to shore right there. It is actually interesting because this missing one shows that these are removable. They just slide. They're little sections. You can actually see over here where they're pieced together. So every one of these railings could just be removed. Take this little stairway right down to the water here. Ooh, gotta be careful. I was just gonna say, gotta be careful, might get a little wet. It almost got me. It almost got me. Sorry about my little scream there. Got a long day, I don't want to get wet. This little walkway down to the beach is closed off. I have to get down there another way. Let's go try it. There's another one down here. Ah, this one's open. So this beach was actually featured twice. About 15 minutes into the film, Frank's walking with his family. He just gets done swimming with Will out in the water by Grandpa's boat. That's right over there on the pier where we just were. And then the second part, after the explosion at the pier, is when Frank is with these rocks right here. Not gonna lie, I'm not a big fan of sand. It's coarse and it gets everywhere. No swimming. Beach closed by order of the Amity PD. Wait, that's the wrong movie, isn't it? My bad. Carry on. And first, our happy shot with Frank, Maria, Will, Grandpa, and Grandma walking down the shoreline in a very happy moment. And in a much less happy moment, right in between those two rocks is where Frank washes up after he gets launched into the water. Such an iconic scene in this movie. Now we're gonna hop back in the car, go a little bit west of Tampa, downtown Tampa, and go find some more spots. I would like to add, it was $4 to park over at Honeymoon Island, and it was $5.35 to park through Park Mobile here at the fort. Worth it. Definitely worth it. That's cheap parking. Plus, I only visited the filming locations from each spot. These places are beautiful. I'd like to explore the actual fort one day, so we might have to come back here again, but that's not on the agenda for today. Punisher. About an hour drive from where we just were is the Myrtle Hill Cemetery, established 1917 AD. I have to send a little shout out to Tampa Jay. Jay did a location video and he stated about how he was wandering around the cemetery about 45 minutes before he found the spot. He pointed out a couple things that helped me find the spot ahead of time on Street View. That way I didn't have to drive around like crazy. And here we are. Section 22 at the Myrtle Hill Cemetery. This is where the funeral for Bobby Saint was held. A few of these headstones can be seen in the film. This is what Jay pointed out, that this headstone reads Frederick, where in the movie it read Redrick. So by searching the database of this cemetery, I was able to find which section it was in right away. Thank you again, Jay. The shot was a fairly well zoomed in shot because you can actually see the corner of this headstone and the top of that headstone as the camera pans across when they were walking to the car. You can actually see some foliage, some leaves pass in front of the camera. So I think the camera may have been back behind those trees. Super zoomed in. A couple distinct headstones that can be picked out. This urn looking one, deemed cobble. This one can also be seen in the background, donning a cross. And those little mausoleums in the background as well. Now, I've been looking at these trees a little bit, and I believe the car would have been parked right about here, and we have a tree that's missing. The ground does look like there may have been a tree there, like roots at one point. They would have had to dig the stump out, which is not likely. Usually they leave stumps there. But the reason why I'm saying this is behind Liv, you can see a little mausoleum with a little tree right next to it, which here's a little mausoleum. There's a little tree, although it's a little larger now, but 20 years. So if we zoom in, could it be? Could that be it? I think it could be. It certainly looks correct. And that could explain why the trees don't match behind Quentin. I was looking at them pretty good. They don't match. Something about cemeteries is extremely relaxing to me. Now this one is along a very busy road, and it's very road noisy like that. I don't know if you heard that motorcycle going down the road, but just they're so peaceful and tranquil, and cemeteries. We are about to go to a place not so peaceful. Downtown! Let's go! Quite the contrast of this movie. It's definitely not sunshine and rainbows. The port of Tampa down there was used for the opening scene. I've yet to pinpoint the exact spot, but it also is a very secure port, so can't get in there anyway. I would like to find the exact spot though. That'd be neat. I'm still looking. We now find ourselves in downtown Tampa, where we're gonna go through kind of a quick succession of some locations, no particular order, but yeah, we're gonna start right here, right over here. At 601 North Florida Avenue. This location featured a few times. This is the police station in the movie. We see this when Mickey gets bailed out towards the beginning, after the incident with Frank. And we also see this, it's a press conference going on with the police where Frank reveals himself that he is still alive. That's all right here, right at the spot. Look at this building. This thing has seen better days. It's a shame it's in that condition. Looks like it is a historical spot. It reads the Jackson House. The historic Jackson boarding house was originally constructed as a private residence by Moses and Sarah Jackson in the late 1890s. It was converted by the family for use as a boarding house, with the Jacksons living in the home as well. That conversion may have begun as early as 1910, but the house grew in importance and physical size after the opening of Tampa Union Station, a railroad passenger and freight station. During this time, and through the early 1960s, African Americans were prohibited from staying in white hotels, motels, and boarding houses. Properties like the Jackson boarding house played a crucial role during the segregation era. And though it is not only the boarding house or hotel for blacks in visiting Tampa, it is the only one that remains standing. And it looks as though that may not be the case much longer. That is in rough shape. Definitely falling apart. Now the squirrel moment over. After about a brisk 10-minute walk from the last location, we find the spot of Frank Castle's apartment. Now, unfortunately, It is no longer standing. That building has been demolished. It is not here anymore. It would have been right here at 700 North Nebraska Avenue. Now the skyline has changed a little bit. There's some additions, but there are some very distinct buildings that show it was here. Also, you can see the Jackson house right there in the background. It's crazy to think. Right here was Frank Castle's apartment. I am going to walk to the rest of these locations. I definitely could drive, especially the next one is kind of far. But who doesn't enjoy a nice little walk? Especially when you see stuff like this. Look at this fountain. Now standing at 1 Laurel Place, this apartment complex right here, we have 2 locations. One, West Laurel Street, where it crosses over the Hillsborough River, this drawbridge right in front of you there. And then 2, the end of the chase, when Harry Heck is trying to kill Frank. 2 for 1 deal. We're gonna start with the end of the scene first. This is where the car flips in the road right here. You can see that bridge in the background as it's swerving and spinning. I'm gonna try and get in the middle of the road here real quick. Just waiting for this other car to go past. I just want to get a quick shot. Real quick. This is gonna be dangerous. And here we go. Success. That was very fast, but that will work. Car comes to a rest. Over this way, these apartments can be seen very clearly in a shot with Harry Heck. Just got to go a little bit further. Sorry for the real-time walk here. I like real-time walks though. Do you? No, it doesn't add much to the video, but... Ooh, is this Kroger delivery truck gonna move? It is. Yes, perfect. So, right about like that. Get that shot. Buildings in the background, maybe a little bit further back. What do you think? Right there. That's a little better. Now, overall, the area has changed quite a bit. But that has not right there. And also, the drawbridge. Now, the angle is all wrong because I believe it was shot from over there on the interstate, up on that ramp. That would get you the proper height, either that or a crane shot. But you can line up some of the buildings. Now in the film, of course, the drawbridge was up in this shot. It was a pretty interesting scene. So nice little car action sequence right on that bridge right there. Frank would have been sitting at those gates right there for the drawbridge. Harry pushing him out. There would have been a big fight right here. A lot of this can be seen in the background. Drawbridges don't change much over the years. As the bridge starts to come down, Frank goes for it. He comes, he Dukes of Hazzards it over here. Lands pretty good jump. Then as he's going towards here, a child runs out chasing a ball. That's when he has to swerve, and then we end up with the results of the car flipping upside down and looking at where we just were. Now, a quick stroll down the Tampa Riverwalk. Our next spot, located at 428 West Kennedy Boulevard, is another 2-for-1. We're gonna pan this way a little bit. And here we have the David Falk Theater. Part of the University of Tampa, this theater. This actually is the theater where Liv goes to the movies. And right next to it, on the left, is where Liv would go work out before. So this is very important because this is part of the plot point where Frank uses her parking here to stage an affair between her and Quentin. And if you watch the movie, you know what ends up happening. If you haven't watched the movie, go watch it. It's worth a watch. But yeah, so 2-for-1 right here. The movie theater and the gym. Why did I forget what a gym was called? That's terrible. See, like I said, the camera turns on, my brain turns to mush. It is interesting because where Frank was parked appears to not be parking spaces. It doesn't appear to be a sidewalk because it's actually the entrance right here to the University of Tampa, and it is quite a long ways. So it looks like they just had him kind of parked on the side of the road right here. Liv would have been parked right here. That's where Frank comes out and he pulls out that fire hydrant and places it on the sidewalk right here. Good old downtown Tampa. Next up is Howard Saint's office building, located at 100 North Tampa Street. There was a pretty good showdown inside the building here. And a stone's throw away right over in this third direction from the last location is the Rivergate Tower parking lot. Valet only. Now, we're not looking at the Rivergate Tower because the Rivergate Tower is that right there. We are looking at this building. It's Sinners and Saints, or Saints and Sinners. Which one is it? I can't remember the order. This is Howard's nightclub right here. This is where the end scene, the end fight takes place. Lots of explosions going on. Now you can see the parking lot doesn't exist that it goes that way. That was a different location, but this is it. And it is very, very recognizable. And we are right back on Florida Avenue 601 because I forgot to get the shot of Mickey scurrying down the stairs. Can't believe I forgot to get that. Got the shot. It's okay though because my car is parked right there. Well, rental car. And that's gonna do it for this filming location adventure. The Punisher, 20 years later, 2004 to 2024. Honestly, for a 20-year span, there's a lot that's the same. There's a lot that's recognizable. On the other end, there's a lot that's different. But yeah, there are lots of spots in this movie. There are tons of spots that I did not do. I mentioned Tampa J earlier. He did an awesome location video. I think he got pretty much all of them. If he didn't get all of them, it was very close. He went everywhere. Even the places you can't get in, he at least showed them. So go check out his video if you enjoyed this video. Also, if you enjoyed this video, like it, subscribe to the channel. We do lots of filming location adventures, travel videos, and random things from time to time. And until next time, be good, have fun, and learn something. I had to extend my parking by an hour because I missed it by about 10 minutes. Duh.